live once again with Dr. Tom Novak, and we are mid-storm right now. And Tom, I've been, seeing the comments that people have had, depending on where they live, and trying to. Obviously, I live in California, so I'm living it vicariously. But I have a sense of the collective feeling that I think some people have, and my sense is that people were surprised at the amount of snow that fell this morning and the effects that it had, and we're thinking that the biggest effect of the storm is going to be later this afternoon and this evening, but doesn't quite seem to be the case. Was this a surprise to you?
Well, the afternoon and early evening so far, Bill, has unfolded exactly as expected. We were looking for a surge of heavy, wet snow between about 3 and 5 p.m. That's exactly what happened in the Twin Cities metro. It would snow for 3-4 hours, and then we'd get a lull, and that's where we are right now. So that happened exactly as expected. What was very surprising, I think, to not only to myself, but to most meteorologists, and certainly to the majority, if not all, of the computer models out there, was that burst of snow. And it was only about a 2-hour burst of snow in the eastern metro, but it dropped anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of snow over the eastern half of the metro. Now, of course, we've been talking, Bill, it seems like as quick as that snow is falling, it's melting too. So even though you may get 4 inches of snow like they did this morning in the eastern metro, it's already compacted down to 1.5 inches to 2 inches of snow. And that's, of course, what's happening to this afternoon and evening snow too. Some areas have picked up 2-3 inches of snow late this afternoon and early this evening, but it's already compacting down to 1 inch to 2 inches. So yeah, some people are disappointed because they don't have a fluffed up 6-inch bank of snow right now, but that just is not going to happen with this storm system. It is way too warm, not only at the surface, but even in the upper levels of the atmosphere to get that fluffy snow that will not melt or compact.
Yeah. So do you feel like what do you think is going to happen the remainder of the storm?
Yeah, well, I'm sticking to my guns, Bill. The map we showed last night. In fact, why don't we show it just right now? Give me just a moment. I'm going to actually show you some computer models. Okay, what you're seeing now, Bill, this is the computer model from the HR computer model run, and this is temperature at the surface. And the reason why I'm showing this, Bill, is because this light blue area in here, these are temperatures in the low to mid 30s. And we're looking at midnight, and then now here it is, the map for 4 a.m. Look, the temperature's not moving at all. So it's going to be in the low to mid 30s in Minneapolis and St. Paul metro throughout the overnight hours. So no matter what falls, Bill, it's going to compact. And the map that we showed yesterday of the 5 to 8 inches of snow, I think still kind of stands here because of the compaction. Now, if it would have been 25 degrees out, Bill, 20 degrees out, some portions of the eastern metro would already have 6 to 8 inches of snow on the ground. So, I hope that people kind of understand that and understand how difficult it is to predict that.
Yeah. No, I guess back to that morning burst, you say it affected the east side, whereas, again, that's where I think people were expecting the worst on the west side. So maybe in the end, it'll sort of average out.
Yeah, that could be it, Bill. It's such a dynamic storm system. I usually like to just say, you know what, anything goes right now. Meteorologists, weather forecasters, we don't have all the answers. It's like trying to predict a moving target.
Yeah.
That's really what this storm is right now. And oh, by the way, remember when we talked about this storm sitting and spinning and stalling over southern Minnesota? It looks like it's going to do that overnight tonight. So we could get really surprised with how many spokes of energy come up out of Iowa and southern Minnesota and head north into the Twin Cities. It's going to kind of be a crapshoot, and it's going to be anybody's guess at this point, Bill.
Okay, well, that's a fair thing to say, I think. Why do you think? Well, you probably don't know the answer, I'm guessing, but why did none of the models seem to pick up that snowburst this morning?
Well, they did, but they picked it up south of the Twin Cities. Okay, the last model run that I saw, the 00 Zulu model run, and some of the high-res short-term models, did show some ice and some rain moving into southeastern Minnesota, and it was supposed to turn to snow in portions of western Wisconsin. But that batch of moisture moved about 50 miles further north than expected. Actually, the model data did a pretty darn good job in general of giving us a blueprint of what was going to happen. But to try to predict, exactly where that batch of snow was going to land was really far-fetched, and that was a lot to expect.
Yeah. Do you feel like this is, all in all, this is a more challenging storm to predict than a typical snowstorm?
No, I mean, I would tell you, Bill, that every storm is challenging just because they have a life of their own. It's similar to a thunderstorm in the summer, right? You're trying to predict exactly how a cloud is going to act. We just don't have enough data in the atmosphere, enough data points to really be accurate with exactly how a storm cell is going to evolve. And really, that's the case even with these larger systems. There's just not enough of a data network out there to even come close to being exact with how something's going to evolve. I've been happy, Bill. I've been happy with how the computer models have been performing over the last month to 2 months with the majority, if not all, of these snow systems. If that helps you out at all.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Tom, I was mentioning to you before that here in California, there's been 4 straight days of record cold temperatures, and today, where I am is just east of San Francisco. The high was 49 degrees, which is the colder than any temperature last year already. So we've had more winter than we've had last year already.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? And to think that it's warmer right now. Remember, we're approaching December 1st here. It's warmer right now up in Manitoba and Saskatchewan in Canada than it is down here. In fact, it's warmer up there than it probably is over portions of Northern California right now as we speak. That is just a sign of El Nino. That's classic El Nino, where warm air gets thrusted up into western and central Canada, and it kind of traps the cold air here in not only in the West Coast, but in the Rockies, and then even pushing east into the plains. But rest assured, another classic El Nino pattern is when you get rapid warm-ups, even after a big snow event. That happened last week in Iowa, Bill, when they received a foot of snow in Iowa. It warmed up right away, and it's going to happen to us too, no matter how much snow falls here in southern and central Minnesota. Rest assured, it's going to warm up, and that stuff's going to melt pretty quickly.
Do you think the lakes are in danger of never freezing perfectly solid this winter, or is that?
Well, I've talked about that with a lot of my friends, people who have cabins. None of their lakes are even close to being frozen over yet that I know of. And I'm expecting most of the lakes to be unsafe through January 1st. So, unless we somehow get a 2-week massive Arctic cold snap, I just don't see those lakes freezing over and being safe till at least January 1st, and maybe even extending into January, which would be very, very odd for this part of the country.
Yeah. Anything else, Tom?
Yeah, I just wanted to show a couple of, come on, people like to look at maps too, right, Bill? So
Sure.
you got to at least show them a little bit, give them a little taste of maybe what to expect later on tonight. This is a infrared satellite loop, Bill, and what you're looking at is cloud tops and how cold they are. And we're always looking for these blues, which are clouds, to change to these yellows and greens. Whenever the colors of these clouds change to the greens and yellows, that means the clouds are cooling. That means that whatever is underneath of those clouds, which is likely precipitation, is probably intensifying. So look at what's happening over northeast Iowa, Bill. That's a thunderstorm that exploded in northeast Iowa and southwestern Wisconsin. So
Wow.
that shows you the energy with this system and the dynamics with this system. So what we're going to be waiting for, Bill, is some enhancement, some colder cloud tops to develop over southern Minnesota in the next 2 to 3 hours. I do expect that to happen, and if it does, that means that we're going to get some more heavy snow. Here's the radar summary from the Twin Cities. One thing we talked about yesterday, Bill, is we were concerned about a mix of maybe some sleet and even some rain pushing into portions of the metro. Well, that did happen in the extreme eastern metro this evening. That's what these yellows and reds are. That's likely some sleet and some freezing rain or just plain old rain. And of course, down by Rochester, it's been liquid most of the afternoon and evening. But look at what's happening down near Albert Lee, near I-90. That's some snow that's developing. And let's just get the latest, this is the latest image from the Twin Cities radar. And look, you can clearly see some more snow showers, which will become steady snow, will start moving up into the Twin Cities. This is this area of explosion, at least with some snow that I'm expecting to occur over southern Minnesota, and then have that move into the Twin Cities. So yes, there is a bit of a lull, especially in the western metro belt right now, of snow, but it should pick up again by about 10 o'clock this evening. And of course, that's what the computer models are showing. If we were to go to the HR computer model, here's what it's showing. One spoke of energy has moved through the Twin Cities, but look at what happens over southern Minnesota. More snow develops and moves north into the Twin Cities. So that heavy band of snow, again, situated over the Twin Cities by about midnight or 1 a.m. And then that finally moves north of the metro by about 3 or 4 in the morning. Now, Bill, one thing I want to warn everybody, and we mentioned this earlier in this broadcast, but this storm is kind of sitting now and spinning. So the wild card is what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't think any of the models have really accurately predicted how this storm was just going to sit and spin. Okay, so in theory, if that storm just sits there and spins, we could get more spokes of energy to move up into southern Minnesota during the day tomorrow, which would mean more snow.
But is it also possible that more warm air could get into the system as it continues to spin?
No, actually, a little bit different. It's actually going to entrain in colder air. Okay, so our atmosphere is actually going to get colder, especially just above us. Okay, so anything that falls overnight tonight and tomorrow morning or into the day tomorrow should be snow. Okay, I think that's a for sure bet. What is the question mark is, will there be moisture? And right now, I just don't think the models have a good handle on this. Maybe as the 00 Zulu models, which is 7 p.m., maybe as these models start coming in right now, they'll start to latch on to that, and we'll get a better idea of what's going to happen tomorrow. But I just want to warn everybody, there is a high likelihood of being surprised with how this all evolves during the day tomorrow.
Okay.
And you just need to stay tuned.
One last question, Tom. Like I know in the spring, it tends to be where precipitation is heaviest. That sometimes is where it snows. So you can actually have a situation where there's rain north because it's not as heavy as there might be farther south where it's heavy and gets that kind of, I forget, that kind of cooling. We're not. This is not a similar situation to that, is it?
It actually is, Bill. That's called dynamic cooling.
That was what I was.
Yep, there you go. And when you get real heavy precipitation falling through a column of air, well, that heavy precipitation, some of it's going to evaporate. And if you're familiar with physics, evaporation is a cooling process. So as that rain or precipitation, or snow for that matter, goes through that column of air, it cools it. So that was happening over the Twin Cities metro, even at about 5 or 6 this evening. When it was snowing heavily in the Twin Cities, there was some, at least on the edges of that precipitation, it was still rain. That's why people in the northern metro were upset, because it was actually raining in portions of the northern metro at about 4 or 5 this evening. And they're wondering, well, what's the big fuss? Well, in the heart of the metro, it was snowing at about 1 inch to 2 inches per hour. So yeah, that's happening with this storm, and that is often the case, Bill, with these dynamic storm systems. That's probably
so unpredictable because it all depends where that stuff sets up.
Right. That's why, Bill, the totals across the metro are going to be all across the board. We're going to get some reports of 8, 9 inches maybe in Woodbury or Maplewood, and then maybe some people down in Chaska may only report 4 or 5 inches when it's all said and done. It's just, it's going to be hodgepodge of totals that are going to be coming in, and that's why it makes this job kind of fun, because you just never know exactly what's going to happen.
Sounds good. Anything else, Tom?
All right, William. You know what? I think I'm trying to cut out a little bit, but we'll do this again sometime soon, okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Take care.
Talk to you later.